So we're at the end of the SYNCHRO X-Link Festival, and we have grinded 30,000 medals when you only needed 11,000. But this event was very fun, especially if you got the free Sword Soul deck from your campaign code by like making a new account and using your campaign code on it. And then you just fill out the deck with like hand traps, and you have a fully functional, probably the best deck for this event to use. It was really, really fun. And to end off the event, we actually went on an 11 win streak. But what's funny is, I came back to the game after 5 months. I haven't really played any ranked, and we're sitting in silver. But we faced up against like Master 1 players, Diamond players. Yeah, you can see, like, I don't know what was going on. But you can see here the 11 win streak that we went on. Yeah, just dominating the field. So we're going to take a look at some of these matches because they were pretty fun. Let's go ahead and get into it. And if you want to see more Master Duel content, make sure you leave a comment and let me know in the comment section below. It's kind of funny that in this event, I think pretty much the entire Snake Eyes package was legal. And you would think that would be the strongest deck, but I think that Sword Soul is a pretty decent counter to it, especially without any max C, right? Because that's one thing that really does hold Sword Soul back sometimes. But here you can see the opponent comboing through an Ash Blossom with their Sinful Spoil cards. They're going to be able to summon that Duel star they put in their Spell and Trap Zone during the end phase by banishing the spell. They send for the Flame Burge, and they're going to banish, put it back, and draw a card. So we have to worry about hand trap interruptions as well, and or imperms. That is what's likely set there. The opponent ends up summoning the Duel star as expected, and are able to set a Sinful Spoils of Subversion as a result. And now it's our turn. So we're going to start off by using the Yugioh there, and it gets Ash, but we're going to be able to cross out that and still bring out the Moye. We reveal a Longyang. The opponent has yet another interruption, so they just seem to have everything. Being able to play through my Ash and stop all of my plays. Thankfully, the Yugioh is a tuner, so we're able to normal summon our second one and still synchro summon with the Moye, which is going to get us a draw and a search off the Chi-Sao. And we know the other set card on the field isn't something that's activatable right now, since it was set with the Duel star, and the last card in their hand isn't a Nibiru or a Veiler or something, hopefully. But when I'm going through this, I don't mind locking myself into Worms by using the Ashuna effect, because Chen Yang is a card that really beats Snake Eyes because of its ability to banish cards on the field and from the grave. So we weren't planning to go into Baron, because Baron popping and destroying would trigger the effects of the Snake Eyes cards. So you see us going to Chen Yang here, and Chen Yang is going to pop off. It's also nice that the blackout that we have, I think we drew this off of the Moye, will combo nicely with the Chen Yang to pop 2 cards and banish as well if we want. So you're going to see here, we're going to burn for 12, link off into the Monk, so we have a normal monster on field, and then use the Adhara to get back the Ashuna, but more importantly trigger the Chen Yang, which will allow us to banish the Duel star and the Poplar from the graveyard. Now, when we beat over the Flame Burge Dragon, they don't have 2 level 1 fires in their grave, which means Flame Burge will not trigger since they only have Oak left. So we're going to beat into that with the Chen Yang, and while this Ash is negated, it won't be next turn. So we set this Imperm in this column with the Sinful Spoils of Subversion, because they're obviously going to use this to try to out my Chen Yang, and we want to stop that by negating the column with the Imperm targeting the Ash. So that is why I didn't beat over it there. So kind of thinking ahead on what I want to do. As expected, they activate the Sinful Spoils. We negate the Ash Blossom in order to negate the column, which stops the Subversion from going off. They're going to Duel star send in order to summon. We negate with the Chi-Sao, and then Chen Yang will trigger to banish Flame Burge and the Duel star. And just like that, the opponent surrenders, knowing that we would OTK them next turn. In this matchup, we also lost the coin toss, but the opponent opted for me to go first. So I'm like, okay, is it going to be Crusadia, or is it like a going second Sword Soul build? The opponent opts to Imper my Moye, and they thought for a little bit there. So we're going to go ahead now and follow up with the Emergence on the Longyang. So the opponent does not have an Ash, or they opted not to use it if they did. When I summon the Longyang, their screen lit up again, so that indicates to me that they have a second Imperm. And I'm like, okay, if they Imperm this, I am in a little bit of trouble because I don't have any way to extend. The reason that we are able to do this extension with the Moye is because with the token we get from the Longyang, we can still use it with the Moye, bring out the Chi-Sao, and then Chi-Sao can banish a Blackout, and I play 2 Blackout in this build, so I can do stuff like this and still have one in the deck. And the Blackout being banished will generate a token for me, which I can then use for the Longyang into Baron. So I'm like, okay, they're keeping an Imperm for their turn because they have some kind of play, and sure enough, that's exactly what they do. You do not activate the Baron effect because you don't want to play into talents, but in the end, oh no, I don't. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use Circle on the Chisao because I need to have some kind of engine to play next turn, and so we grab a Taya and we lose our Baron there. The opponent summons Moye, and drawing that Effect Veiler off of the Moye Synchro Summon comes in clutch, as we're able to negate that and shut down that play. And I'm just like, please make the opponent not have an extender for the Long Yang. Thankfully, they played their talents to draw 2, and that is ashable, so we're able to shut that down. Now the opponent can't do anything, and they're stuck with, you know, useless cards in hand. So we're going to be able to pop off quite heavily here. And you have a couple of options with this Taya. Like, you could go into the Crimson Blader to prevent them from summoning level 5 or higher monsters, which shuts them off from summoning the Long Yang, or even any synchro play, right? So it's pretty good, but in the end I opt to go into the Chisao line because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have game here, right? No problem. So we're going to be able to dump a Ashuna and grab a Long Yang that we can discard the Adhara for. And since we're used up our Baron, there's no point in not locking ourselves into Worms, and that's what we're going for in the Chen Ying. And then we're going to go into the Monk so that we can banish the Adhara and get back the Long Yang. Not that we need it, but it will trigger the Chen Ying in order to banish the Moye and anything in their graveyard. Then we just go battle phase, and we're able to clutch out that game. So yeah, despite the opponent having a pretty good hand to go second with and pretty much full combo, our own hand traps going first, I guess, into the opponent's second turn there was able to save us. Alright, next up, we've got a pretty good hand, and we are going first once again. I think I did win this coin toss. We're going to start with the Moye, revealing the emergence, and it's very common for people to have interruptions, but because they have the Effect Veiler, we're going to be able to cross out that and then use talents to rip the hand to make sure they don't have an Nibiru. They had double Moye and Ataya, and I'm like, this Imperm shuts down their whole turn, unless they draw something really good, but even then I'll have Baron to follow up with, and the opponent kind of knows that it's over, so they end up scooping it up. Now every once in a while I would change it up depending on if I needed certain challenges done, so I think in this one I needed like the Link Summoning challenge, so we opted to go into Crusadia here, and yeah, I kind of glossied out the deck a little bit since you got all those extra rare and common points. But yeah, this guy was a Master 1 using Sword Soul, so pretty common for this event, right? The issue is we've got both the Kaiju and the Nibiru. They're going to go ahead and search the Blackout, summon the Long Yang, pitching a Taya, and on the Long Yang summon with the token, we're going to Nibiru them, bring the token out, and the Crusadia monsters, just so you guys know, do not gain the effect of getting the token's attack, because it says it has to be the original attack, and I guess the token's original attack is technically 0. So as soon as they see me summon the Maximus there, they just end up scooping it up, and yeah, that's how easy it is to beat Master 1 players. You just got to drop the Nibiru. Alright, this matchup is a little rough for us. We've got the Ashuna and a Heavenly Dragon Circle only. Double Call by the Grave and a Veiler though, so let's see what extensions we can go through. We're going to go and banish the Ashuna to bring out the Adhara, and then Heavenly Dragon Circle it away in order to grab a Moye, and then use the Adhara to banish and grab back the Ashuna so that we can normal summon that Moye and reveal the Ashuna to get our tokens going. They do have Effect Veiler, but we do have a Call by the Grave, and that means our Effect Veiler for next turn will not work, but that's totally fine. We're then going to be able to now go into the Chisao and grab a Long Yang. Oh no, we grab, okay, Blackout, that makes sense because we'll just Emergence for the Long Yang, which will then pitch the Ashuna once again in order to get that on field. And we're locking the Worm, so we're going to go into the Chen Yang, which is actually not bad since we have Blackout, and we can use that with the Chen Yang to take out 2 cards. So we've got a Monster Negate, a Pop 2, a Graveyard Banish, and a Chen Ying Banish. The opponent reveals they're also on Sword Soul. Going into the same line I did, I'm going to immediately banish that Ashuna so they don't get any extension, and unfortunately they do have the Vishuddha. So you can see me like kind of really, you know, using up all my effects here quite early, because if your opponent starts off kind of like what I did with the Ashuna, it's a good tell that they don't have any real extension, like they don't have the Moye, the Taya, the Long Yang, because they would likely start with that first. But nope, the opponent baited me, and they do indeed have the Moye, but we do have the Chisao, so we can negate that, and now we're going to go ahead and trigger everything. The Sword Soul Blackout trap card will get the token on the field since it was banished. The Chen Ying will banish the Moye that was summoned and the Vishuddha, so they don't get any follow-up off that, and now the opponent can't do anything. Now we are threatening game on board, I believe, and we top deck a Long Yang here, so we're going to be able to banish the Dragon Circle to grab an Adhara since we do control a normal monster in that linked monk. The opponent reveals Gamma though, and that actually kind of saves them. which is rather interesting. We're going to go ahead and just use the Chisao negate so we can banish the driver and the monk, keeping them on no resources in case they do have a Taya. And we're going to be able to grab back Moye. We normal summon the Moye and use it with the token to go into Crimson Blader, which will prevent them from summoning level 5 or higher monsters, which against Sword Soul is pretty much a death sentence, but it doesn't matter because we still are able to attack for game. And just like that, with a bad starting hand, you can engineer a full end board with Sword Soul. Alright, in this next matchup here, going second with triple hand traps, a Talons, and an Ashuna in hand. The opponent is on Rescue a Sinful Spoils, which is a pretty strong deck for the event. We are going to Ash the original Sinful Spoils though, which ends the opponent's turn. Whenever you can get a 2-for-1 on the Ash, like make them waste 2 cards, it always feels so good. We top deck into a Moye, and that is full combo, and that's how easy it is to win games in this event. This event was actually kind of funny because the amount of times you would just like win a game with your opponent conceding on turn 1, which is what you're going to see here, it was quite frequent. Again, this is like a Master 1 player, but if you just hand trap the, I don't want to say the earliest opportunity, but like one of their extenders, if you're starting off with an extender, right, it's a good indication that you probably don't have too much. And this opponent attempts to get some kind of combo going, and this was not a loner deck, right? This is obviously a deck that they built, and it's Infernoble. But yeah, when I see the normal summon Veiler, I'm like, oh, you are struggling, huh? So they're going to attempt to do some kind of extension here. My guess is, since they can't go into Isolde, they're going to try to go to Promethean Princess, going through this fire line here. And this is fine because we have called by for it as well. And it's unfortunate that the opponent resigned because, you know, we had the full stack to go off with them. But yeah, that was an easy win. Didn't even have to play. And as for the final clip, just showing you guys how it is so easy and quick to get up to 30,000 medals, because this is how fast games were, really. We're going to normal summon Moye. The opponent clearly has no interruption. We reveal the Ashuna, and we get a token on board. We're going to go into the Long Young so that we can play around the Biru first, and the opponent just ends up scooping once they see us playing around the Nibiru probably, and they were like, yeah, that was the only interruption I had, so I'm just going to go ahead and scoop. So that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you again for watching, and let me know what you want to see next for Master Duel.